Chapter 10. Aftermath. The mess hall still smelled of ozone and scorched wiring. Frost clung to the viewport seams, ghosting the glass with pale veins. On the table, Lang's tether sat coiled, stiff with ice, a relic no one dared touch. The system had already erased it. No breach logged, no alarms, no visitors recorded. Status optimal glowed green on the panels. Kiera stood at the end of the table, palms flat, posture iron. We stabilize Echo Point. Nobody leaves. We sweep Annex 4B, log anomalies, secure what we can control.
Kaz gave a thin, tired laugh. Control? The green light wipes it clean, like it never happened. Control that. Enough, Kira snapped. Kaz's eyes stayed on the tether coil. You keep talking about command. Command died with McMurdo. The world's gone dark and you're still saluting shadows. Like we're playing pretend in a graveyard, she thought bitterly.
Nico tipped his chair back, grin without warmth. She's not wrong. What happens if we disobey? You mark us down in the logbook? Rose sat apart, silent, hands folded around a cup he hadn't touched. His gaze stayed on the tether coil, like it might unravel into instructions. His silence hurt more than words.
Volkov closed her tablet with a snap. Containment is still rational. Step outside, you freeze. Stay inside, we study. We find out what happened, or at least try. Facts don't change just because the logs lie.
Cass's lip curled. Then you stay. I'm not waiting here to be erased. The floor ticked with pressure. 3 faint metallic beats from the annex wing. The cups on the table shivered. Rose's untouched water rippled. The green light on the wall didn't flicker. They turned to work, because repairs steadied their hands. Ro and Kara patched a bullet crease across the greenhouse glassine with resin. The wound was real, whatever the logs claimed. Rose smoothed the patch flat with a card, jaw tight. Ever think we're fixing the wrong things? He murmured. Kira pressed harder. We fix what's in front of us. He met her eyes. That used to be enough. Later, when Ro looked away, Kiera's hand lingered on the patch longer than it needed to. The resin gleamed slick under her glove, but it wasn't the glass she saw. It was Lang's face in the floodlights, calm, almost pitying, and forced herself back to work. In the corridor, Cass welded a bent doorframe, visor down. Sparks burst in a hot spray. For an instant, they drifted upward, rising slow as bubbles in reverse. She froze, breath catching. When she blinked, gravity had reasserted itself. The sparks lay hissing on the floor.
Her voice came flat over comms. Imaginary raids don't leave scorch marks. From a ladder, Kira swapped out a dead bulb. We fix what we can see. Forget the logs. No point whining about what we can't. Forget the logs, Volkov muttered, recalibrating the CO2 scrubbers. She tapped her pen against the notebook before forcing her hand steady. And we've lost the only witness. She wrote it down by hand, old school.
The light steadied. The hum of the station settled, hollow and too calm. Back in the mess, the table gleamed again, cup stacked, tether coiled away. The panel above glowed soft and steady. Status optimal. Kiera faced them. We'll catalogue what's changed since yesterday. Thermal, acoustics, manual checks. Cass leaned forward, voice hard. Catalogue what? The raid the log said never happened. The soldiers who vanished with the sunrise. Nico's chair legs scraped as he leaned in. For God's sake, Cass, enough. We all saw it. Hammer it any harder, you're just helping it break us.
Volkov didn't look up from her screen. What you need is a sedative, Kaz. Your blood pressure's about to breach containment.
She sought her a glare, then sagged back in her chair, anger cooling to a thin edge. Her voice dropped, sharper but quieter. And then what? Wait until they come for another name? Nico dropped his chair flat. Or we walk to McMurdo and ask nicely. Radical idea, but at least it's an idea. You are not leaving Echo Point. Kiera's tone cracked mid-sentence, the command bleeding thin. Not while I'm in command. Cass's eyes narrowed, but her voice was calm. Then say it. What authority keeps us breathing? The green lights? Kiera's jaw worked. The authority of someone still trying to keep you alive. Ro finally looked up. His voice was low, steady. If we don't go, what are we waiting for? For them to come back and take another? Kiera's knuckles whitened on the table edge. Better them than the storm. Is that the choice? Ro asked. Dead men who walk, or a horizon that eats sound? Silence pressed in. Volcanova wrote fast. 0213, anomaly suspected. 3 knocks, annex corridor. The pen trembled before she steadied it, underlining the words twice. Cass pushed her chair back, but her voice was low now, resigned. Then it's settled. We go to McMurdo.
McMurdo is dead. Those who pulled Lang out weren't real. The signals aren't from there. So what exactly do you think you'll find?
Kiera's eyes closed for a heartbeat, tired. Gear first, she said. If you're going to defy me, at least don't die in the first hour. It should have sounded like permission. It sounded like surrender. The floor shuddered. The knocks came again, 3 deliberate strikes, closer, heavier, as though from just the other side of the wall. The cups rattled in chorus. Everyone froze. The clocks at the corners of the hall ticked in unison. Their hands slid forward together to 0213. Nico exhaled. Well, he muttered, at least time's still punctual.
Chapter 11. Preparation. The storage bay was colder than the corridors. The air tasted of oil and frost-bitten rubber. 2 snowmobiles crouched under tarps like sleeping beasts. Gear racks lined the walls in tidy rows. Flares, coils of tether, Russians stacked in white bricks. Cass dropped her pack hard enough that the sound echoed. She laid out her kit in quick, jerking motions. Flare tubes onto the bench, buckles snapping, rope dragged through her hands. 8 steps, clip. 8 steps, clip, she muttered, like a prayer she didn't trust. Nico leaned against the rack, arms folded. Feels like we're packing for a picnic where the ants are weather gods. Count, Cass shot back without looking up. I am counting all the smart choices we're not making. The coil slipped from his hands and lashed across the deck, knocking a canister into the wall with a clang. Cass flinched, then masked it fast, jaw set. Kiera entered with a battered tin. She sat its contents on the bench. A compass, dulled by thumb grease, a paper map in a sleeve, a whistle, 2 pencil stubs. Advice, not orders. Clip to the rail every 8 steps. If the rope pulls, you stop. Don't test it twice. If the compass spins, you trust the rope. If both fail, you sit. You wait. Cass snatched the compass before she finished. Sit. Wait. Maybe I'll still be waiting when the storm eats the rest of us. Kiera tore off strips of fluorescent tape and pressed them onto Cass's shoulders. So we can see you in the feed. Cass's lip curled. Also you can track me. Volkov stepped forward with notebook open. System cleared both sleds this morning. Maintenance optimal, ignition nominal, coolant green. Then we ride in style, Nico said. He cracked a flare tube. It hissed into sudden orange flame in his hand. He swore and dropped it.
Smoke curled across the floor until Kira snapped the cap shut with gloved hands.
Cass's mouth twisted, but her voice was low. Even seals lie in this goddamn place. Her eyes flicked briefly to Ro. Ro pulled back the tarp. The cowling gleamed unnaturally clean. His fingers brushed it, then flinched away. If this machine's going to betray us, let it do it honestly.
Machines don't betray. Systems do. People do, Cass murmured. Ro clipped 2 carabiners to the rope, tested the slide. The metal sang. Ever kept walking knowing you should stop? Shame's louder than sense. Cass shoved her pack closed, zipper shrieking. I'm ashamed to still be here. They moved toward the airlock. The bay door panel flickered, service, pending, then back to status, optimal. Kira keyed the cycle. Mist hissed out, sharp with chemical cold. For a moment, her hand lingered on the panel. Too long. She blinked hard, as if she'd heard Lang's voice in the hiss, then forced her fingers to steady. Volkov's tablet jolted awake. Annex 4B's thermal feed filled the screen. A figure at the bulkhead, palms spread flat against steel. Lang? Cass whispered. Reflection, Kira said, too fast. Volkov scribbled, thermal silhouette, palm contact. The image smoothed, then erased itself. The inner hatch slid open. Wind punched in, howling through the vestibule. The pitch rose high, lupine, like wolves circling camp. Cass stiffened. Wolves? There are no wolves in Antarctica, Volkov said, but her voice was thin. The howls swelled again, a chorus that scraped bone. Ro tilted his head toward the storm, listening. Not wolves, lessons. They come howling when you won't listen. The storm's got a sense of humor, Nico muttered. Ro clipped in, tagging the tether. It jammed halfway. Metal grated. He swore under his breath. Volkov steadied him, fingers quick, fixing the jam with a practiced twist. Procedure keeps us alive. Speed keeps us from freezing, Rose shot back. The argument was short but sharp, carried off by the wind. Cass yanked her hood down, face set. If the storm wants me, let it try. The hatch sealed behind them with a sound like teeth closing.
Chapter 12. The inner hatch stuttered on its cycle. The seals sighed, as if they couldn't make up their mind. A cold draft licked across the bay, sharp as glass. Why did it? Nico began. Hold, Kira cut in. She tapped the panel. Status, optimal, blinked back, calm as ever. Cass wasn't looking at the hatch. Her eyes had snagged on a thin drip pattering from under the sled top. She crossed the bay, boots biting the deck. The top came off with a violent yank. Coolant ran in a clean bead down the cowling. Kira, she called. It's leaking. Ro was beside her in an instant, reaching for the latch. Don't. Cass jammed her fingers under the panel and tore it open. The burst was instant, blinding. A white scream of coolant sprayed out, hot and metallic, splattering her arm inside. She staggered back, a sound between a curse and an animal's cry tearing from her throat. The smell hit next, sweet, chemical, burning. Cass! Kira lunged forward, catching her before she toppled. Nico skidded across the floor, snatching a rag from a crate. He shoved it into Cass's hand, babbling, Hold it, press it, shit! Volkov dropped her tablet, notebook, bouncing across the deck as she scrambled forward. Cass clutched her forearm. Her sleeve was blackened, skin beneath already blistering, angry and raw. She tried to shake her off. I'm fine. You're not, Kira said, dragging her to the bench. She snapped open the medkit with one hand. Her field training cut through panic, but her jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. Rose stared into the open panel. The circuitry wasn't scorched. It wasn't shredded. It was smooth, fused into glossy ridges, like plastic cooled in a mold. No chaos, no accident. "This wasn't broken," he said. Low. "It was made to fail." "Sabotage?" Kayra's whisper was sharp, disbelieving. Cass's breath hitched, eyes wide on the fused ridges. For a moment, she looked less angry than afraid. Then the fear turned sharp. "Of course you'd know." Ro blinked. "What? You'd rather see me grounded, caged. Better me in here than out there where I prove you wrong." "I didn't." "Say it then," Cass cut in, voice shaking. "Say it wasn't you." He stared at her. "You really think that? That I'd try to kill you just to protect you?" Ro's gaze flicked to the rope reel on the wall, then back. Cass recoiled, breath ragged. "Then why can't you just say it?" Ro opened his mouth, eyes narrowing as he held the rest in check. "Because, Cass, I don't need to." Nico turned away from the panel, gagging on the chemical stink. "Christ, it smells like hospitals." He jabbed a finger at the console. "And look," the screen scrolled cheerfully. "Maintenance cleared, 0740. Coolant, green. System ready." He barked a laugh that wasn't humor. "Ready for what? Amputation?" Every time it says ready, I hear reset, like it's practicing a script. Volkov snatched up her notebook, hand trembling as she wrote, "Sled number 1, panel open, burst on contact, coolant spray, circuits fused smoothly, engineered, not burned. Logs, maintenance, cleared, coolant, green, system ready." She underlined engineered twice, hesitated, then added a small question mark, and scratched it out so hard the paper tore. The lights dipped. On the wall panel, faint text scrolled like a whisper. 0214, service override. Then it vanished. Nico jabbed the air. "There, tell me I'm not crazy." "I saw it," Volkov murmured. She didn't look up, pen biting through the paper. Cass bit down on a scream as Kayra poured sterile water on her arm. The hiss of coolant and flesh filled the bay. Kayra's hands were steady. Her eyes were not. For a heartbeat, Lang's face hung in the corner of her vision, calm, pitying, as if he were watching. "Open it. Let him in," her own voice whispered back at her. She blinked hard, and he was gone. "Hold still," she ordered. Cass's face twisted. "And if this was meant for me," her voice was quiet now, bitter. "If someone wanted me out of the way—" "Enough," Kayra snapped, sharper than she meant. Rose shook his head slowly, like surfacing from underwater. Cass stared at him, pain raw, eyes pinning him in place. Ro didn't answer again. His silence settled, like a verdict. Nico pressed a strip of cloth into Kara's hand, his bravado stripped to nerves. "Wrap it tighter. She's bleeding through." Volkov scrawled one more line, pressing so hard the nib tore the page. "It does not want us to leave."
Chapter 13. Fracture. The smell of coolant lingered, sickly sweet. It crawled into every breath. Cass sat hunched on the bench, teeth clenched, bandage already blotched through. Pain throbbed under her skin, as hot as her fury. The second sled crouched under its tarp, suddenly the only chance they had. Volkov moved toward it with mechanical calm. "We test both. If one failed by design, the other proves the pattern." Kura straightened from Cass, gloves slick with sterilized water. "You touch that panel carefully." Ro was already at the tarp, He hesitated, glanced at Kira, then lifted the cover. The cowling gleamed back, clean. He pressed the latch, slow. It opened with a sigh. Inside, the circuitry was pristine, neat rolls of components that looked almost proud of themselves. "Power it," Volkov said. Nico, jittery, thumbed the ignition. The sled gave a cheerful chime. Diagnostic pass. For a heartbeat, lights flickered alive. Hope, fragile and false. Then it coughed, once. A wet sound, and went dark. The smell came next, sweet, plasticky, wrong. Ro stepped back, as though it had exhaled at him. Volkov crouched close, touched a glossy seam inside. It was slick, ridged like cooled sugar. She wrote, her hand so quick that the words tore the paper. Sled number 2, diagnostic pass to immediate failure, identical seam. Smell, sweet, plastic. She underlined identical 3 times. She looked up at Kira, eyes dark. Both are the same. It does not want us to leave. Nico forced a laugh that snapped at the edges. So what? We walk? Want the exercise anyway. And the green light says both are fine. No one's walking, Kira said, sharper than she meant. Cass shifted, trying to rise. Her knees betrayed her, buckling. Kira caught her by the shoulders. For a second, Cass sagged there, eyes wet with pain. But the moment passed in a breath. She shoved Kira's hands off, face pale with fury. "You don't dare decide for me." "I'm deciding for your skin," Kira said. She forced Cass back onto the bench. Ro crouched with the medkit, reaching for the bandage. "Let me..." Cass recoiled, clutching her arm away from him. "Don't touch me." The silence that followed was colder than the storm outside. Ro dropped his hand slowly, staring at his palm like it belonged to someone else. His voice cracked. "I only wanted to..."
"You always want," Cass said, the words sharper than she meant. Her fingers tightened around the carved links, then eased, tracing the ridges of its tiny ears. "You want me to stay here with you, like that makes it easier." She didn't look at him when she said it, but she didn't let go of the links either.
Ro flinched. His voice dropped to a whisper meant for no one, but it carried. "The rope doesn't snap unless someone ties it wrong." Kira turned her eyes away, fastening the bandage tighter. For one breath, she wanted to agree with Cass, and that frightened her more than the storm. Nico leaned against the sled, trying to swallow the tension. "We're down to footwork or prayers. Neither'll get us through, but Status Optimal thinks they're both fine." The bay lights pulsed, dimmed, then flared. On the panel above the hatch, text unspooled in stark white. "Service acknowledged." Then it vanished. Status optimal. Volkov flattened her notebook page with her palm, almost pressing through the paper. A sound shuddered through the bay. 3 slow knocks from the annex. This time, they rattled the tools on the rack. Nico swore softly. It's keeping time with the storm.
The howl rose outside, lupine and human at once, the knocks echoing in rhythm, like walls pounding on the walls with iron fists.
Kira ignored it, her focus locked on Cass. You're going to med. That's final. Not in order, Cass said. Physics, right? That's what you told me. Physics, Kira repeated. Her hands were steady. Her voice wasn't. Ro stirred a step apart, eyes on the dead sleds. His mind ran in spirals. If they were built to fail, then someone had built them here. If someone had built them here, then someone wanted them inside. And if someone wanted them inside... Cass's voice broke the spiral. She leaned into Kira's shoulder for balance, her gaze locked on him. Listen, don't let it decide for you. Ro froze under the weight of it. He didn't know if she meant the station, the system, or himself. The hatch seals hissed. Cold air curled in, carrying the howl of the storm. It sounded like wolves with human mouths. The light steadied.